Hello and welcome to the Sunday Stroll Season 2, Episode 7. Question of the week is, what games were you most disappointed in? Let's go over to Colossal Vids and see what games he was most disappointed in.
Obviously when the 3D Sonics came out, Sonic Adventure and stuff on the Dreamcast, they're great games, 1 and 2, everyone loves them. So everyone was therefore expecting, I'm guessing, great things from like Sonic 06 as it kind of became known as. It was just Sonic the Hedgehog on the Xbox 360 and PS3, which kind of led on from Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, and people were expecting great things, and it just flopped. People just hated it, they just didn't take to it, they really didn't enjoy it. So I thought of that, and also Sonic Unleashed, which followed on from that, kind of did just as badly. People were just like, they hated the Werehog levels, they were just like, no, just not happening.
Now my first choice for a disappointing game is going to be a game that I actually bought the PlayStation 3 for, and that was the highly anticipated Gran Turismo 5. So yeah, I love the Gran Turismo series all the way up to number 4. So I mean, the first two are the rage now, but you know, respect where respect's due. At the time they was the pinnacle of simulation racing. So yeah, great games, like I said. Then the third and fourth on the PlayStation 2, both amazing games, lost many hours of my life to those games, and then the fifth one come out, PlayStation 3, and yeah, it was meant to be a release title I think, and yeah, it got delayed and delayed again, and I think in total it got delayed about 4 times, something like that, and yeah, when it came out it was an unfinished mess. Basically like the start-up menus and everything like that, they just looked so unfinished, looked like somebody knocked them up in Photoshop in about 5 minutes. Yeah, it touted to have like over 1,000 cars, but most of the cars was imported from Gran Turismo 4, so you couldn't upgrade them, and it had no interior views and stuff like that, and yeah, it was so unfinished, such a mess, and yeah, just an overall letdown. So my first choice is going to be Gran Turismo 5.
Now both of my choices are going to be actually series of games that I got bored with or was disappointed with. First one's Final Fantasy, which is a massive franchise. Really got into it at Final Fantasy 7 on the PlayStation 1 back in the day, and I know everybody loved that game, and when there was an announcement for Final Fantasy 8, everybody went mad and there was all massive hype train for it, and when it came out it just didn't really live up to the hype. It really didn't have a good story like this number 7 did, and then I think ever since then it sort of hasn't really gone anywhere. 8 and 9 were okay, and they were on the PlayStation 1, but then when it went to Final Fantasy X, again that was the first one on sort of like the PlayStation 2, and there was a massive hype train for that one, because it's on a new console and everybody thought it was going to be huge and massive graphics. But I've even gone back to play that one recently, and the story is just like really linear. You can't go exploring anywhere. You sort of just follow a set path and a story, and then have some battles on the way. You can tell a lot of people think the same about this one because they just keep going back to Final Fantasy 7, remaking it, doing spin-offs, that sort of thing. So that's my first choice.
Not animated, but I'm strolling, never mind. The only real game that I'm really disappointed in is a game on the PlayStation, and it's Premier Manager. The hype for this game, for me anyway, the hype for this game was massive, and it was really just, I was so excited to get hold of a football manager game which had so much potential, so many options, so many options so I thought, but as soon as I got hold of it, it kind of limited itself to having very linear options, not really sort of like great at all. Earpods, look at twat, look like dental floss in my ears, I know. But yeah, it was disappointing to say the least, and like I've mentioned in another stroll, it's I bought a couple of copies of it, so quite an expensive worst game that I've played.
A game called Bubsy 3D, which was meant to be almost like a 3D follow-up to the first two Bubsies on the Sega Mega Drive, but again it flopped. It's horrendous. The 3D is just disgusting. It's blocky. It looks horrendous. It plays awfully. The mechanics are a disgrace. Don't touch it. They have since, to be fair, they released another new game since, which has gone back to the 2D and the Mega Drive kind of style, and it's actually not too bad, to be fair. But this one on the PS1, the original PlayStation, is just horrendous. And I remember playing it and being so excited about it to start with, and then being so shocked at the end.
Second choice is another series, another big series as well. It's Resident Evil. I've been a big fan of the series ever since it came out. I got the first one on PlayStation 1 when it was released, and it was massive. It blew everyone's minds. Really good story. The controls weren't too bad. Everyone says they were crap, but at the time you didn't have anything different, so you didn't really care. Then Resident Evil 2 came out, and that was huge, and they improved on the visuals, they improved on the controls, and they just got everything right. And again, that's another one they just keep going back to, so they know that's where they peaked. Resident Evil 3 came out, still very good, but it just felt like a bolt onto Resident Evil 2. Anyway, so 4 was good. That came out on the, I think I played that one on the Wii, and I just think they went back to their roots with that one, and it felt really like a Resident Evil game, and they used the motion controls really well on that game, and I thought they'd gone back to their form and they'd done really well. But unfortunately after that, I think the series went into a decline. We had 5, which just went totally off the wall and went into like a, where did that one go? Off into Africa, wasn't it? But it just felt more like a an action game than a puzzle, story-driven game. And then 6, I don't even know if I played that one. It just looked crap. What's 7? Biohazard. It's the one. Again, it's a good game, stand on its own, but in the series it just doesn't feel like a Resident Evil game. I think they've tried to go back to the roots, and it was alright for what it was, but yeah, Resident Evil, just haven't felt it since sort of Resident Evil 2 days, and felt really disappointed.
Now for my second pick, it's going to be another 5th entry into another great franchise, and that is Metal Gear Solid. That's right, I love the Metal Gear Solid games all the way up to number 5, The Phantom Pain, which was really underwhelming game. Yeah, they kind of like went open world with it, and it just didn't really work. There was like so much scope to it that basically the scope was bigger than the actual gameplay kind of thing. It was too big, too vast, and like every base and every kind of like little village you came across was just the same as the one that you just visited before it, and it was, yeah, it was just like rinse and repeat over and over again, very boring. And the cutscenes, like to get the story mode kind of like going on, was very like uninspired. Like there was no really good boss battles, no really interesting characters or anything like that we'd seen from like the other games in the franchise. So yeah, overall it was just very kind of boring. I mean, for the first hour or so, it's one of those games that captures you in, it like draws you in, you think, oh, this looks beautiful and everything like that. But then the more you play it, the more you just see that you're just playing the same shit over and over again, and yeah, it gets very boring in the end, and it's just like they couldn't be arsed and the game suffered for it. So yeah, that's my second pick, is Metal Gear Solid, The Phantom Pain.
So those were our answers to the question of the week. Why don't you let us know yours in the comments below, or even video responses. Yes, they do still exist. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, links are in the description below. You can also tweet #Sunday Stroll, and we'll see you in our next stroll.